Was your question?
Mine?
Yeah, I think.
Oh no, I just said what would be like the out of your what would be
men can't date.
It's just just physical for a guy to consider a girl out of their league.
The only types. Okay, here's the difference. So an average girl can at least get a one night stand with a guy who's outside of her league, whereas in order for a guy to be dealing with a girl who's outside of his league, if we're talking looks, he needs to be bringing something else to the table.
Right.
And typically it's going to be massive amounts of status. So a really famous rapper or musician, typically these guys, a lot of them typically not the best looking dudes, but they can date women outside their league because they're bringing status. Women are attracted to status. Men don't care about status. So there wouldn't really be a correspondence there.
That's why when we said the difference between a girl hooking up with or dating a guy outside of her league, it didn't come down to just what the guy looked like. You know what I mean? It has to be if a girl's going with a guy outside of her league, it has to do with more than just looks. It has to do with, like you said, status. It has to do with financial.
It could be just looks too, though.
I feel like
it doesn't just come down to that, because you could outside of your league doesn't mean a super hot hobo. You know, it doesn't have to do with just looks. You know what I mean?
I feel like you said.
Well, I mean, actually, who was that guy who got arrested? The mug guy. What was this?
He's the
Are you talking about the blue-eyed bald guy?
With blue eyes. It's literally fucking criminal. And women, and now he's rich and married to this.
I mean, a supermodel, walking at fucking
some
fashion week,
but or some shit.
Yeah. All right, that's an anomaly, but.
Sure, I agree. That's an anomaly.
Yeah, that's not a common thing. But yeah, for like you were saying, guys to think a girl's outside of their league, it's just looks to guys.
I don't understand can you clarify?
What's the difference between a girl being outside of a guy's league than a guy being outside of a girl's league?
Will a guy look at a female? So if a guy sees a woman and she makes more money than him, is she out of his league then? In the same way that if a man has if a man is financially extremely rich, and he's
that's
out
what I'm
saying.
She probably thinks that he is.
That's what I mean. It's just not about looks.
But men don't value a woman's earning potential.
Some do.
So okay, cool. Some guys are cucks.
No, I mean most of them in my area do.
I mean, you also don't want an unemployed chick either.
Your own thing. The reality is though, if you have a male attorney. Here's the difference. A male attorney is going to look at a 20-year-old barista and be like, wow, she's really attractive. I want to date her. And say that male attorney is 35. The 35-year-old female attorney is not going to look at a 20-year-old male barista, even if he's really attractive, and be like, I'm going to take this guy seriously long term.
No, because
maybe she'll fuck him, but probably
that's what I was getting at. It was I wanted to know how do we distinguish the difference? What are the categories for each boy and girl? What's the difference between being out of a league in one gender besides the other? You know what I mean? Like how you just said.
Well, and
I agree with that. A 35-year-old attorney is not going to see a 20-year-old barista guy and be like, I'm going to fuck. No.
The female version of the attorney.
Yeah, the reverse way.
The male version.
Yeah, the reverse way. That's 100%. That's why I just wanted to get down to what is the actual determination between the both.
Well, so when I'm speaking about league as it relates to the rating 1 to 10 question, it's strictly about looks. Okay. So typically, if we're looking at looks and we're looking at average people, so I was giving an example in a way which men, even despite their looks, can get women outside of their looks league through things like status. Or sometimes it can be personality.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was asking.
Sometimes it can be personality. You have to be pretty charismatic to do it. But ultimately, looks is probably the most important thing for everybody, really.
Can I also say, women don't think about this, but we're exactly the opposite. So the less a woman does, the more attractive she is. The more a man does, the more attractive he is. So when you're asking, when you say men want women with more money or more status, it's the exact opposite. The less status you have, the less known you are, the less followers you have, the less promiscuous friends you have, the less partners you have. Everything that you have less than, they're going to value that more. Whereas with men, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Some men, though.
Well, obviously, there's
Yeah, we're talking
6 fingers on some
Well,
fingers
I
on
also
some people.
feel
but-
like those aren't the only like valued things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those aren't like an important thing. Like, all the things you just listed aren't really like the top things to look for. Like, I feel like,
From a man's perspective?
yeah, like, I want to know, is it like an independent woman is less attractive, like, to where like, I don't need you. I don't need the things that you're offering.
man
I would
wants to
like
feel like
them. I would appreciate them, but I don't need them. Like,
A man wants
But
to feel like
I
he
feel
can
like
take
a
care
man
of woman, though,
sometimes
too,
wants to
'cause
feel needed.
It's emasculating, if not.
So everything comes with a cost. So if you say a woman is she has a good career or she's an independent boss woman, that looks good externally, but you have to. It's all a projection of what's internal. So the way she acts, the way she projects, the way she thinks. When you're independent, you usually have more masculine traits. So you're more assertive, more dominant. You take bigger risks. These are all masculine traits.
Yeah.
So even though you can look at that and say, "Oh, there's no problem with making more money," we're not judging the external. We're judging the internal.
well, not even more money, just like being like financially like stable. Like they do. I feel like a lot of the times, like men want or are attracted to women who need them. Like they want to, like men want to feel needed. They
And that's
want to
good.
feel like,
Is it attractive to you if a guy wants to take care of you?
no, I love that.
Okay.
But I'm also independent and I don't need it. I would like it.
But
But I also don't expect something from a man that I can't do for myself.
that's exactly why marriages are falling apart, though. You don't need each other. But there's this, it's a thing called the law of contingency. We're all contingent upon something else. So there's a starting point, which is, if you want to say God, but everything is contingent upon others. So for you guys to survive, for myself to survive, we need water that was filtered by someone else. And then that water had to exist from someone else. Your marriage should depend on both of you needing each other as well. Your kid needs you. Your family needs you. You need your partner to be a good leader. It's the law of contingency where you're all contingent upon another. So you should want to need each other because
Right.
you can't survive on your own.
This is something Bella and I were talking about, is that equality doesn't mean the same, and like reliance on another person isn't a weakness. And so
But that would you say you're like more of a 50-50 or like, like 40-60 type of person in a relationship?
What was the question? If,
Like a 50-50?
Are you
or
asking
a
should it be
60-40?
50-50 or?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it depends. Well, it always depends, because with you say with marriage, you don't have a goal, right? So with someone that doesn't have a goal, you can't really tell them much because it's just whatever it feels good. If you have a goal, if you want to get married, if you want to have a good relationship, if you want to raise kids and raise a better generation than the one you guys are being raised in, then you probably want to have a specific set of standards where my man is the leader and I follow his lead and we're not 50-50. Because once again, the law of contingency means you're going to be contingent on him, but he's also going to be contingent on you to make sure that you play out your part.
Yeah.
So the less you guys can be equal to each other in the sense of how you guys are and operate, the better it's going to be.
Yeah. That
And
makes sense.
like you were saying, you probably want a man who wants to protect, who wants to provide for you, in the same sense that he's going to want a woman who is nurturing, who is going
Right.
to, right? So there has to be like a balance. There's
Like checks and balance, kind of like.
exactly like I think many women in our generation or today in this day and age expect a lot, and like we say we deserve all these things, but what can we, not in the sense bring to the table, but like you said, like what you want to provide or you want to protect her. So that's
can also-
the value.
you can also like reflect internally, and I think kind of that's why I think working on yourself and like becoming the person that the person you want. This is gonna sound jumbled, but working on becoming the person that the kind of person you would want to be with.
Right.
If that
I
makes sense.
value my independence a lot as well. So like I find that very hard to balance. That's the only reason.
Independence in which ways? Like your job? Like you
In
want to...
relationships, like I still value.
you wanna be
having
your own
my
separate person?
independence. I want to I obviously would love to have both of us have our things that we do together and everything as well. But I would like to separate that and have time to like breathe on my own and like, I don't want to be ridiculed or something for, say I go out for a night or whatever. Like I don't want my phone being blown up. Like, oh my God, you're out cheating. Like, like insecurity type.
Let
issues
me
in
ask you, the man that you're
relationships
looking
as well.
for, is he, do you think the man that you're looking for is going to look for the things that you want as well? Like a family, a long-term stability situation?
I'm not necessarily looking to build a family at the moment.
Okay.
I'm not really looking into relationships either. So, I mean,
So, well, at what age are you going to start thinking about that?
haven't thought about that yet.
And you're 23? Mm-hmm. 23? Okay. So you're going to spend your best years, your most fertile years, the years where you're going to be at the highest value, and you're going to be kind of wasting them?
I don't think I'm wasting them.
So let's put it this way. If you keep racking up more bodies, you keep having pictures of you at the club more often. You keep making more money. You're going to try to look for a man that wants the exact opposite, because I'm assuming you're probably going to want a guy that is of high value, right?
I mean, it depends on what your description of high value would be.
So how would you categorize it?
Honestly, I'm more of a personable person. I love someone that I can connect with on more of a spiritual manner, and in a sense.
Okay.
So,
but are you going to want him to lead you, or do you want it to be 50-50?
I don't want it to be 50-50, but a 50-40 or 60-40 would be acceptable.
Okay. Well, the thing that, because I think these women are, they said they're virgins, right? And I think that's the absolute best thing that a woman can do. If she restricts herself and saves herself, and they start making good decisions from the very beginning, where I do less to be more attractive, I think that's the absolute best thing you can do. And one thing that I wish my family, because we grew up pretty liberal in my household, one thing I wish my family would have told me is make good decisions. Because I was making bad decisions, but with good intentions. So we can have good intentions. We want to have good lives, but we make bad decisions.
I mean, there's many circumstances where purity isn't necessarily
valued.
Not valued, but it's not a thing anymore, and it's not because of your own decisions that you've made. So.
Right. And do you think we live in a better society now because of that?
I mean,
if we look at the stats, 26% of women are on antipsychotics, antidepressants, anxiety meds. 26% of women, where we have pushed this liberation movement of feminism. So we've given you ladies more rights, quote unquote. We've given you more freedom. And you guys have over double the rate of antipsychotics than men.
It's made women unhappy.
I'm not on them, so.
Most women.
I'm not saying you are.
More women are unhappy now than they were when less women were working.
And the reason I highlight that is because you're kind of appealing to the world. The world does this, or this is our current culture, therefore this is okay. But I'm asking you, do you want to live the way the results are showing?
I don't know if that has to do exactly women are on meds more. they've also pushed more meds on us,
Right.
I'm on meds, and I've been trying to get off of them, but it's you go to a psychiatrist,
Right.
And I don't know if
more women go to therapy.
I don't know if
they've actually done studies on the happiness, though.
Yeah, there was
since more women go to therapy, have entered the workforce, women have become unhappier than they were in the 1950s.
It was one of the biggest studies.
I feel with the dynamic and how men are nowadays as well, there is a lot of aggression behind certain things. So I don't know. I feel therapy and things like that could benefit a lot of people as well.
I've worked in treatment. I know that women are more open to being in therapy and taking meds than men that think that they can handle things on their own and do that.
Do you know why that is, though?
Because women are more open and in tune with their emotions.
You can say open. That's a euphemism for propagandized. They're more propagandized. That's why they make up a huge percent of the marketplace. So
in tune with emotions.
Women that have mental issues, they're more open to being okay, I'm going to go to a therapist, meaning they have more opportunities to go see someone that's going to prescribe them meds than men who are just going to go out and, let's say the guy is bipolar. They're going to go out and go with these manic episodes rather than a woman. So you can't direct.
No, but here's the problem.
Directly.
When these women are going to the therapist, are they going to male therapists or female therapists?
I have a female therapist.
I've had both.
Okay, but generally, do you think it's more women or men that are the therapists? Right. So now women are taking advice from other women through therapy.
Who are just as unhappy as they
are. Who are just as unhappy, and they're going to push the same exact propaganda that got them there in the first place.
Well, that's the thing is I think anytime that you make a decision and you're going to someone else, even a doctor, to rely on them to make a decision for you. Yeah, exactly. I think having your own discernment is really important.
But people don't have discernment anymore. We have had debates, but it's one of the things that I talk about with when people say I trust the science, they don't care about the science. They don't look at the studies. They care about what the expert told them. Right. So when we say that women we act like they're analyzing all the medicine, they're checking, make sure everything, the prescription's good. They're not. You guys just follow blindly. And this is because women are easily propaganda. That's why when Kamala was running, her number one message was reproductive rights. Because she knows that this appeals to your emotion, and women want to follow that movement because they feel liberated from it.
Yeah, I just think it's hard to put two things that are so not core. That's not true. They could have some correlation, but at the same time, like I said, people are open, and not everything is a direct result of the other thing.
Would you say that people should go to something religious for therapy instead?
No.
No.
Right.
I think I say finding God and being spiritual or whatever helps you. I think they could go hand in hand. I practice Judaism to a certain extent, And I also see a therapist. I've worked in treatment. I've been in treatment. And I've been on meds. I've been off of meds.
Can I ask you, if you don't want to share, obviously, but what kind of meds are you on?
Currently just got off of a few meds. Right now I'm on, pain meds. I have a lot of chronic pain, but I also take an anti-anxiety med.
Okay.
Not like Xanax, but one that I take in morning and at night. And medication to help me sleep.
How long have you been taking the anxiety one?
Around 3 years.
Okay, and are you going to continue taking that for another 20 years?
No, I'm currently working to get
To
off
get off of
all
it?
of my
Okay.
meds right now. But
Well, I think this is
I think
important
I'm in a
because
better
we would
place.
agree, we would find common ground that the secular society that we live in, they do push meds like crazy. I mean, when I was 18, I had so much anxiety. I had gotten evicted from my apartment. I was like 12 grand in debt,
Yeah.
but I was under so much stress trying to start my business. And I went to the doctor and they prescribed me, I think it was Adderall or like something for focusing. I forgot what it was. And she didn't care to dig in deep and actually understand the core of the problem. If I would have gone on those meds, I would have been like 3 years now, right? Now I'm going to work on a cycle to get off of them. So we live in this society where we have to be very careful with who we trust and why we trust them. Because they throw out these buzzwords, trust the expert, trust the people that are,
and then
doing
they
the
learned
science.
it from someone else.
And
You
they learn
can't
it,
really
yeah.
find
Then
that.
it always comes back to who did they learn it from?
Yeah.
I
You have
think
to assess
another
that.
thing is that there is a double standard with men and women. See, me and my brother, we would do the same things. I'll use that as an example. My parents would be like, okay, like, you're a female, like, you're gonna come home at a certain time. Or like, oh, he's acting out, but that's just what a guy would do. And then I'm a woman, so I'd go to therapy. And I think that there's like a double standard. And I'm all for, like, I'm not like the big Kamala supporter. I don't really like her. But there is that, like, with men and women, where there's like different standards, like you're gonna come home at a certain time, or you're not allowed to do this. Like, you see a woman drinking beer, you're like, that's a little, but you see a guy drinking beer, and it's like, oh, it's just like a guy drinking beers.
Yeah.
So there's a double standard with that. See, me and my brother, one of us would be doing something, but I'd get more, not in trouble, but I'd need more help because it's not a feminine thing to do.
You're held to a higher standard, right, in some ways?
Yeah, you said it exactly.
Yeah.
I was looking for that. But so therefore I went to therapy. He didn't. I got meds. He didn't.
So we have a lack of masculinity. That's the problem that we have. And
a lack of what?
A lack of masculinity. And then this leads to a lack of identity. So do you ever see people that are trying to act a way that you can tell they're not genuine? It's because they lack an identity, right? And that identity comes because they weren't given good values and good virtues when they were growing up. So with men now, when you say women are going through therapy, it's because men don't have the leadership capabilities to now lead themselves. And for me, the number one rule that I found is that I'm the happiest in my life when I'm more masculine. So the more I strive away from my masculinity, the more depressed I am, anxiety. I don't have that anymore because I got rid of that. When you change your mindset on that, but the problem with that is with the society, through the stigmatization that we push through the propaganda, men are obviously pushed now to seek therapy, to go to college, to lower their standards. They have these hashtags.
You see men are pushed to go to college?
Yeah, they're pushed. They're pushed through all these. Women obviously are pushed through college. That's why it's like a 60-40% rate on that. But men are taught to be less masculine, which is why we have these problems. So now you, instead of seeking your man for guidance, which is my man should lead me, he should give me my therapy that I need, you're going to someone external that knows nothing about you nor cares about you.
Well, I was going through some like drug addiction stuff. That's why I went to therapy at a younger age and worked in treatment. That's what I meant by that. So, there's a lot of depressed people, but what man do you think I should be going to? Like my father, you mean?
Yeah, your father. Your father would be, if you don't have a husband, your father would be ideal, but do you have a good relationship with your father?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Great. I think he's watching, so shout out.
Okay, good. So, can I ask you, like, between you and your father, what do you think led you to get into drug problems to begin with?
Wrong crowd.
Okay.
I grew up in a great family. My parents are still together.
Okay.
I have my mom's my best friend, great relationship. And I think that I took that for granted at the time, and I went with the wrong crowd, and it was all a product of myself going with the wrong people. But I'm not saying my dad can't help. I call him for advice.
Yeah.
But, at the time, I don't think my dad was like, I don't think he wants to hear about his daughter doing drugs and hanging out with the wrong crowd. He'd be there for me if I told him, but he wouldn't want to hear it. And he probably would give me more of like the, let's figure this out. Like, you need to go to treatment. He would be pushing treatment on me rather than him being like, all right, we're going to sit down and talk once a week and, have a conversation
I
about
feel
it.
like going against the crowd is also, in that scenario, it's almost like going against the propaganda, because it's like the crowd is what is normal, you know what I mean? And so it was almost like that lower standard was the standard. And
Right.
so I think that's just like the main struggle is the standard is not where it should be. And so we shouldn't be following that. Like, we
Right,
should
and
be
he's
making
been
our
there for me a lot. Same with my mom. I have 3 years sober, so
That's
they, now I go to them for more advice, but I'm also like a little bit more grown up. I'm open to them about my past while they're, it's different because I'm older to go for them. But
Yo, thanks, Chart.
But let's say something
the,
happened to me or
50.
something, I don't think a parent wants to hear about their 13-year-old doing things. I think they'd go straight to anger rather than help.
Well, real quick, can you agree with me then that your decisions matter? Like making good decisions at a young age would be the absolute most optimal thing for your life?
No, honestly, no.
Because you made a decision and now you're trying to reverse them because you're not happy
I'm
with them,
trying
right?
to reverse them, but I think it led me to a greater
I'm not saying
point.
you regret them. I'm not saying live in regret. I'm just saying you made bad decisions.
Yeah, but I think, I agree that we should.
But you're looking at it from an optimistic lens, right?
I'm saying, obviously it would be great if nobody made any mistakes, but I think it also, I worked in treatment, so I think my mistakes also help me help others. And
I'll say
things
this,
like
a
that.
master learns from his mistakes, a grandmaster learns from other people's mistakes. You don't have to make the mistakes to learn from them. So that's why I'm telling you, be very careful with the decision you make.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
I
if
feel
you had
like
kids, would you want them
emotionally
to
though,
do
like
it?
you're never really gonna understand and kind of like, I don't know, like there's just like emotional things that come into it as well. Like you're never really gonna fully understand something until you go through it.
But if you had children, would you want them to do? Would you be like, hey,
Well, I
you
don't-
should
I
definitely
don't
make
want
good
children,
decisions?
so I just don't
No.
know
got it.
about it.
I'm not going to wish something bad on a kid. I'm not going to be like, I
Right.
hope you fuck.
Right.
But that's
And I
kind of
just
the point
personally
is
don't
like,
want children, so,
if
like,
you're
that's
making
not even
better
a thought for
decisions
me.
from the beginning, it might be,
I don't
it might
think-
go better in
No,
general.
actually, I am so thankful for all of the things that I've done wrong in my life, honestly.
But you wouldn't jump in front of a bus to know that you shouldn't get in front of a bus.
I mean, no.
Right. You take
But-
precautions. You do your best to
but
mitigate
that's
those bad
But there's a
decisions.
certain
You
extent
know.
to things. Like, obviously, there's things that are avoidable and like, but like emotionally, the things that I've gone through have
What are the wrong things you've gone through, or what did you say? The bad thing?
like any like just traumatic things or anything. Like I feel like it has made me who I am today, and I'm thankful for it.
You're thankful for the traumatic things you've
Yeah.
been through.
It was a sufficient condition, but not a necessary condition. Like you didn't have to go through that, but you can look at it from an optimistic lens now and look at
Yeah.
the
No,
things
and
you came from.
I think optimism is the only thing that is genuinely keeping me going.
But if you had a daughter right now, you wouldn't put her through the same exact stuff. You would want her to live a better life. Therefore, you would teach her better values, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
you would
guess.
you would show her the
I
path to
don't
how to
want
make good
children,
decisions.
so-
You try to gear towards people in the right direction,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's certain
I know.
things that you need to learn from by yourself. like,
Like, would you say like drug problem? Because I had a brother that went through drug problems as well.
Right.
Would you say that he had to go through the drug problems to know he shouldn't have drug problems, or could I have taught him better, or my dad?
I'd say teach them the best you can,
Right.
but I think. I'm grateful that I had it young rather than when I was older
Yeah.
and I had to do it all by myself. But I'm saying, kids are gonna smoke weed, kids are gonna drink, and that's just like how it goes,
But they don't
And-
have to. Like,
It's not
they can-
necessary.
yeah.
I think his point is like you don't have to learn by going through it. You can learn from other people's mistakes, and that's.
I mean, societally though, there's always
Yeah.
going to be like different crowds, and like you could be in
Who's speaking?
a very good family dynamic and still go through those things. Like it's just
you
depending
choose
on
your
your
crowd.
susceptibility and like how you feel towards another person. If they're convincing enough to convince you to drink, if they shoot up, whatever it is, like.
But you're putting it dependent on if they're convincing enough. Like,
I mean, yeah,
I mean,
but like
I'd
emotionally, if you build a bond with someone and like they're like, say you build a bond with your pastor and you're religious, like obviously you're believing what they're telling you, but like,
but I still will have discernment.
you know,
Like,
I mean, yeah,
when-
there's a certain discernment to it,
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely, but
people
I mean,
have different reactions.
you're still
to
going
things.
to right.
You're
You're gonna believe what you want to believe, regardless.
I guess, but I don't put it dependent on how convincing the other person is. I put it based on my own standard of
I mean,
discernment.
Values and
So
peer pressure, things of that nature. I'm sure you've done things you're not proud of.
I'll just say the last thing real quick. Women live deeply off temporal myopia, which is where you make short-term decisions and at the expense of the long-term.
Yeah.
So you do what feels good right now. But once again, you don't have to, if you have a daughter or a son, you don't have to encourage them to go through the same mistakes. You can just tell them, resist the selfish, fleshly desires that you have and make good decisions.
Right, but it's
Yeah, but
I know
would
they're going to
also
go through it
think that,
regardless,
like,
but you're not going to put in their head, hey, you're going to go through this. You're going to put the opposite in their
lead
head.
them
You want to mitigate
not
it.
doing it if you
I wouldn't
can
be
afford.
able to like relate or like I guess with anyone if they hadn't kind of necessarily gone through some of the things that I've related to. So I don't know.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like I would find it hard to make a relationship with someone if they didn't have like relatable things
Like
that have happened to
relatable
them.
trauma?
Kinda, yeah.
Which is understandable, but I don't think that necessarily means that it's a good thing for our entire
I don't think it's a good
society
thing
to
at
be
all. No, I
collectively
never
going through trauma
no.
so that we can all relate to each other.
I never said
because
it
of
was a good thing.
Well, the
Like,
man
I'm
that
just
you,
saying, like,
the man that you find next, do you want him to have that same level of trauma that you have?
I mean, knowing me probably, but
And if he has it, do you want him to be able to be advanced in terms of how he handles it the same way you are, to the same
No.
level?
I mean, actually, I feel like I handle things mentally very well. So
Okay.
I feel like mentally, yes. Actually, yeah.
Because
I think-
I'm just saying, if you want a man that's going to have a lot of trauma as well, men do have a lot of trauma, but if they live in that trauma, if like they're an emotional wreck, you're not going to have a leader. You're going to have the same person that you're probably counseling that
I
night.
think like I'm mentally strong. Like I mean, I feel like I'm pretty mentally strong myself. If they can handle it just as mentally strong as I am, then it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not a necessity. It's like what we're
Yeah,
saying.
no,
It's like,
I don't think it's necessary
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
not a necessary condition.
But it does make
We agree on the-
It does make things a lot more intimate as well, though. Like to have that relation on certain things as well.
Okay.
I don't know.
We have the age advancements, so we'll do that. But before we do, really quick, I'm going to read Austin. He says, "Good show, broski." Yo, Austin, thank you for the $100 super chat, man. Guys, W's in the chat for Austin. Look at this fucking legend here. Thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat. We have Jason Wells. Just an observation: the only attractive women on this panel don't have tattoos. Coincidence? Who here has tattoos? Show of hands. Tattoo. Oh, just you two. You guys don't have tattoos?
Wow, you look great with the black screen. That's a good
I don't have
photo of
anything
you.
against
It's a great photo of you.
Wow, was that a roast or you talking shit on
Well,
my
I
boy?
can't really roast him. I don't see him.
You talking shit on fucking what is his name? Jay Wells there?
Jay Wells.
That's my boy.
Jay Welly.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
I mean, it's easy to call other people unattractive when you're not.
You talking
there
shit?
to see it.
Talking shit. If he showed a photo of himself, I could.
This is the roast of Jay Welly right
That's
now.
crazy.
Yeah, the man Jay Well.
Beaten Cheeks on Twitch says no man wants a woman with baggage.
That's true.
So I have
would
a
agree
thought
with
on that.
Okay, what is it?
If men don't want women with baggage, they need to work a little bit better about not contributing to giving women baggage.
Yeah, but like
A
on
good chunk of my baggage comes from guys
yeah,
being assholes and dicks.
but, sure.
I mean,
But the
there's
new
also-
guy,
yeah.
the new guy you're dating, he didn't contribute to your
Yeah.
baggage.
He did not. I know.
Right.
But that's
So
that's
how are you gonna hold somebody accountable?
No,
like
it's not holding-
blame a new dude.
it's not
as-
He's
blaming
not
the new guy.
responsible for the
It's
previous.
not blaming the new guy. It's just saying, like,
Packages.
as a man, if you want women to have less baggage, it helps you if you also don't contribute and give women baggage.
Sure, I guess.
So, because a lot of men out there do, and then they complain that women are crazy when most men do a lot of things that don't make anything any easier for women.
Okay, all right. Here, let's do.